Very excited about this group, but every year you're pretty excited about the group of kids you bring in. But this group here, I feel like we really got the height and the length that we've been looking for the last 2 years of players to come on this team and help us out because it's really gone to that kind of game with length and size and those things. Even at our level, where D1 it's been more like that, but for us it's kind of coming down, trickling down our way. So got some big kids, got some athletic kids. I think we filled some holes where we need to fill some holes. For the future, with guys leaving next year, some of these seniors getting out, and hopefully these guys can step in and play for us, after their redshirt year. You never know. Hopefully they can. But very excited about this group. Good kids, strong kids, some good area kids as well. I thought we got the best kids in the area as well, and I think this class is going to do some good things. Seem to be very motivated, and already kind of got their group texts set up with each other and getting things moving forward in the right direction.
Very heavy on the high school signings as opposed to some transfers. Does the portal play much of a role in how you recruit?
It does a little. I mean, we do use the portal, and don't get me wrong, we look at the portal and we call on about kids in the portal, and all those things. And of course, we lose some kids to the portal as well. So, it does. But I'm still the high school guy. I want to bring those kids in here and hopefully keep them for 4 or 5 years is the ultimate goal. Realistically, does that happen anymore? I don't know with the portal and the things that are happening because the commitment level just doesn't seem to be there anymore, with kids. But, if a kid's good enough and I feel like he can play at the next level, I'll let him. But I'm still going to go recruit the high school kids because I want to train them the way we want them trained and get them to learn our offense and our defense and be great players for us because I really think that's when they become, all conference players, all Americans. You just get a kid for a year. That's hard to do because you're not really known in this conference. But when you play in this conference for a couple of years, you can start getting those accolades and good things can happen for you. So hopefully these kids, make that commitment the same way we made the commitment to them for these next 4 or 5 years and really get this thing rolling like we used to be.
Malik Ball from Hayes High obviously had a great career, stays home. How big of a get is that?
It was huge. I thought we were going to lose him there for just a little bit, and it was a big decision for him. But I'm glad he decided to stay here, with us because I really think he can help us in the future. I mean, strong kid, physical kid, plays the game hard, plays the game the way I like it to be played. He's going to run through contact, and he might not be the fastest guy on the field, but he can still catch the ball out of the backfield and make people miss and make things happen. But I'm very excited that we were able to keep him home here in Hayes.
And then Mason Hogan, Plainville, big kid, offensive line. Were you looking at that using him probably?
Yeah, right now, that's kind of what he wanted to be was an offensive lineman, and you always need big offensive linemen. Hopefully, can be a tackle for us and protect our quarterback. But if it doesn't work there, maybe we can transition him over to the defensive side of the ball as well. But he's just one of those kids that, another great kid, a great family. His parents were awesome on the visit as well, and another kid I wasn't quite sure what was going to happen with, and at the end here we picked him up, and I'm glad to have him on our team because he is a great young man. He's got great grades, works hard. He's a wrestler, as well, and those are the kind of kids that I like.
As far as Malik, once he's been in the program for a while, what do you think could be his floor and his ceiling?
I think he's already at his floor. He's just going to grow from here. I mean, that kid is going to get stronger. He's going to get faster. I think once he picks up our system, he's going to do great things, because he's not the biggest guy in the world, but he's probably pound for pound, probably one of the toughest and strongest kids you'll ever meet. And that's going to be a huge for us at that position. He'll be able to hide behind those offensive linemen, find that little gap, and hit the hole. I'm hoping he turns into our next Kenneth Iheme, is what I'm hoping for because that kid was very talented and he could squirt through a hole and make some things happen. So that's what I'm hoping for him. I think he could get to that point. And I know the kid's going to work his tail off for us.
Is it harder at times to recruit Hayes kids because of the allure of kids trying to maybe want to leave town for the first time in their life?
It is. You just hopefully they've watched us long enough and they've really become Tiger fans and that's what they want to be, but there's always those options of having the opportunity to go on and do different things and maybe go make their own name somewhere else. But it is hard, but it is good to keep those kids here because they do really good things, while they're here. And you've seen that with the kids that we've signed, from Hayes High. They've done an excellent job, and they played a lot of downs for us. And this is kind of like their home because they've been doing it all through high school.
So we got the Florida connection with some of those receivers again, with Coach McCray, and some good size at those positions.
Yeah, McCray did a good job. You know, he did a good job out there for us again this year. Receiving core, looking at next year, we're going to lose a few guys, and you always got to add extra. You always need those guys because, I mean, receivers. I mean, you got to play 6 of them a game because that position is very demanding, you know, on their legs especially in conditioning, and they get tired. So you got to have some guys you can put out there on the field that can make plays for you. And we feel like all these guys right here on this list can go do great things for us, and I see great things coming out of them in the future. You know, there's some tall ones, there's some short ones, but I think the smaller ones are pretty agile. They kind of remind me of Watts a little bit with just his strength and his speed and his quickness. And the tall ones, man, they can just go up and get the ball, and they got speed and they're athletic.
This recruiting class going into it, what did you think were your areas of needs that you needed to address?
Every year we always need to address O-line, D-line, just because those numbers, you know, there's always injuries, you know, and you got to have depth at those positions. Secondary, it was big because I know we're going to lose, you know, like 4 or 5 guys in the secondary this year to kind of keep that, you know, stock going up. And, you know, wide receivers was one as well because we're going to lose a few wide receivers. We sign a quarterback every year. We sign a running back every single year. But I think, you know, it's probably more DB and wide receivers was probably the biggest needs for us right now just because we needed some guys to fill some holes, you know, once these guys graduate.
Because I think you can never have enough quarterbacks.
Can't have enough quarterbacks, right? Because you never know. I mean, there's been years where you lost 3. You see it in the NFL all the time. They're playing the guy that's probably never played quarterback before. They go pick a guy up that's been working UPS or something, you know, and then now they're playing quarterback. It's just one of those positions you don't know what's going to happen, and you got to have multiple guys there just because, you know, of the injuries that do happen at quarterback. And some of them are, you know, maybe a week or 2 injuries, and some of them are season-ending injuries. So you got to have enough guys in there to fill in and keep that depth going.
Are there any of these guys that were maybe a bit of a surprise just because it was very neck and neck with another program, or you just kind of shot your shot in order to be able to see if they had any interest?
I think all recruiting is just shooting your shot and hopefully get them, right? And that's I mean, every one of these kids had other schools that were recruiting them as well, and it's just, you know, building that relationship with the young man and his family, and, you know, getting them on campus and just teaching them about your culture, and then showing them the facilities that we have as well, and, you know, the change in 1 year's time from being 3-8 to 7-4, and then them seeing that change and that we're going in the right direction again, and hopefully make things happen this next year, and just building excitement with them as well. But it really all comes down to just the connection you make with the kid and making sure he's a good fit for us and this is a good fit for him. I always tell these kids on these visits, you know, we might have given you a scholarship, all right, but don't come here because of the scholarship. You know, come to Fort Hays State because this is the place you want to call home for the next 4 or 5 years. And if you can't do that, then you probably don't need to be here, because college football is hard, it's tough, and there's a lot of things that go into it to being great. And, you know, if you don't want to be great, we don't want you here either. So you sometimes got to have those hard conversations with them and set expectations, you know, before they even come here. And I think these kids right here like those expectations. They liked our culture and the things that we were doing, and that's why they signed with us.
Blanket kid from St. Francis, is that a guy you recruited last year?
Yeah, I recruited him out of high school. You know, we really didn't want him bad out of high school, and we was fortunate enough this year that, you know, he came back, and we were very, very excited about him because I think he can do really good things. I mean, he's a good-sized kid. He runs really well. He's physical, and you know, he fits who we are, you know, as a program. And I'm glad he's back because I really think he's going to do some good things for us. And not in a couple of years. I'm thinking this next year he needs to be one of our guys.
If you were a college professor, what letter grade would you give this recruiting class?
I'd probably give it an A. I mean, because I think we filled every position that we really truly needed to fill. I feel like all these kids are very talented. They all seem to be very good in the classroom as well. They seem to be high character kids, and just the mentality, and, you know, having talks with them, and you could tell that they're a dedicated group and that they're a motivated group, and they're going to come in here and work hard. I mean, so I'd give this group an A because I just think it's a group of kids that, kind of got a little bit of a chip on the shoulder. Some of the big schools weren't recruiting when they thought they probably should have been at big schools, and I think these kids, have something to prove. And I told each and every one of them, you're not coming here to be a backup. You're coming here to be a starter. And so you got to compete from day one to be a starter. And I think this group of kids is going to do those things. They all have great families. They seem to all be pretty hard workers, and they all seem to have great character, which we are looking for.
Of the guys that are listed, the 5 of them of spring transfers, are they all available for spring ball?
Yes, they're all here right now. They got here in January when we had our first team meeting, and so they're here working out with our team right now, and they're doing a great job. And you have to get them in the spring, because if you get them in the summer, they're behind. But these young men right here showed up, ready to roll, ready to go to work, and our players, that we have right now on our team is saying nothing but good things about these young men and their work ethic. So praise goes out to those guys, because they're doing the things we're asking them to do, and they're buying into the culture that we talk about.
What kind of role do the guys that are here that are established play in getting these 34 guys ready to start playing football?
Our players sell our program better than we can, because they really are the face of who we are. And it's when they get here and talk with the parents, because we always do a players' council that lasts about 30 minutes, where the parents and the recruits can ask questions. And I tell them, ask tough questions, and I tell our players to answer them honestly. And then, they get to go hang out together for a little bit, play PlayStation, Xbox, whatever it is, and watch games. And, and even talking with your players once these kids leave, are these kids a fit for our program? And be honest with us. And every one of these kids said that they thought these kids fit in really well and would do good things for us. And but it's them. It's our kids that sell our program, and without them, there's no way any of these kids are probably even here.
All of these guys that you bring in, and I'm talking high school level, all these guys that you bring in obviously possess skill, otherwise you wouldn't have offered them the opportunity to play college football. What are some of the things that you look for that aren't necessarily skill related that makes you go, that kid's got it, we want that kid?
The number one thing is I really have our coaches dig deep into the kid's character first. Like, what kind of kid are we truly getting? Is this kid going to cause problems? Is he going to be an issue? And if he's not, that's number one. He's a good kid. He's going to work hard. He's going to be committed. Those are the things we look for. He's not going to embarrass our program. He's respectful, all those things. And then we look at their grades too. Like, okay, do these kids have the grades, to make it through college and get their degree? And every one of these kids did as well. And then we start looking at their athletic ability. Okay, can this kid help us win a conference championship? And if that happens, then that we have a good chance to probably win a national championship, just because of the league that we play in. But to me, and then when they're on their visit, are they engaged? Right? Do they ask good questions in my office? And while I'm giving my presentation, are they fully engaged, or are they kind of just drifting off into la la land and not really paying attention? So when I'm doing it, I'm looking at every kid in the eye just to see if they're paying attention. And if they're not, usually we don't really spend too much time on them, because they don't seem to be interested. But every one of these young men were very alert and very attentive, asked some good questions, and you could tell they were very, very serious about trying to find a place that they could call home, and this ended up being the place for them.
On the flip side of that, is there anything high school kids do that are just an automatic red flag that you don't want anything to do with that particular player?
We try to figure out if they have any kind of criminal history, is number one. And then, how are their grades? Again, that's part of it too. Are they kind of that bubble of 2.0, 2.1? Well, you get to college and you're getting that in high school. College is a little bit more difficult, so they're probably not going to make it. Those are probably the two main things that alert us right away. And then if they're on their visit and they just don't seem interested, and then we probably just need to go our separate ways. And when I'm talking about our culture and going through our culture with them, and if they don't want to be champions, then this isn't the place for you as well. So we hit them pretty hard with the things that we expect and what we're looking for. And if the kid seems kind of disinterested and doesn't seem really like he wants to be part of that, then we just shake hands and wish you the best of luck and hope things work out for you.
From your first recruiting class of 4 days to this recruiting class of 4 days through the years, what's been the biggest changes that you've noticed?
Man, that's a long time ago, Randy. I've had so many concussions, I can really barely remember my first recruiting class. I think it's kind of easier but harder at the same time, because there's so many options for these kids right now. X, I guess you'd call it now, was not as big as social media wasn't as big. When I first got here either, like it is now, and so you're fighting so many different battles with, people early offering kids, which we don't do a lot of early offers. Because I don't want to offer a kid until I actually see him in person and then I meet the kid to see what he's like before I offer him. Where a lot of schools just offer a kid based on their tape, which I don't. And so I think that sometimes might hurt us a little bit, but I do want to meet the kid. And, I want to see the kid. I want to meet his family and then see what kind of kid that we're going to offer, if we're going to offer the kid first. And, but I mean, I think we got better facilities now than when I first got here, because this wasn't quite here yet, but it was built that next year, and I mean, and the wins that come along with it, and the type of kids that we have in our program. So we're able to kind of get the kids we want now, and the kids that we go after, and we have a good shot at getting those kids that we go after now. Besides in the past where we didn't, because maybe our record wasn't quite what they wanted it to be, but now that we've won some football games and I've won some conference championships and things like that, kids want to be part of that. And they also meet the kind of kids that we have here on our team, which are really, really good kids, and they're hardworking, and they're very respectful, and they'll do anything for each other, and I think they see that in our kids, and so that helps us, get these kids here.
You ever get any tips from former players that say, hey, Coach, I'm living here now, and you need to come look at this kid?
Yeah, we do, and then, some of them you're kind of like, well, if they played like you, we don't want them. And, but no, we do. And that's the great thing about having all these guys that, have played for you. I mean, they're scattered all across the country, and, they do have guys, and they do send us kids as well. And, so we definitely because we trust them, right? And they know these kids, so because it's in their hometown. And, so we'll take a look at those kids, and that's how you get some of these kids as well, is just by word of mouth. And a lot of coaches, it's crazy because the more coaches I meet in Kansas, a lot of them played at Fort Hays State as well, and that really helps us get some of these kids too.